welcome to you all at home.
Both McLaren start on the medium, feeling strong ahead of the race.
You've still got a chance to win this race, haven't you?
Just try. I wanna be the only one to feel alive. Take it to the edge where I've lived 1,000 lives.
When I brake very late, to open up the left hand.
Fascinating race ahead.
Welcome back to the Barcelona paddock for the final day of this second pre-season test, and all eyes were on McLaren Honda once more. McLaren's problems meant they split driving duties on the last day and put Fernando Alonso in the car in the morning. 2 hours into the day, he finally left the garage, but 21 laps into his session, he left the track just after turn 3 and crashed into the wall. He was transferred by ambulance to the circuit's medical centre, where he received first aid treatment. He was then put into the circuit's air ambulance and taken to hospital for further checks and scans. McLaren had said the car was not badly damaged and it would run again in the afternoon, but it never reappeared, and the team confirmed their test was over at 4:15 local time. Back on track, the Mercedes continued to show its reliability. Nico Rosberg's neck in good enough shape for him to manage a whole day in the car, but still no quick laps on the soft tyres to show even a little of their hand. Nico, how was that? Was that a good day in the car for you?
Not really, no, because it was so windy out there, and that made it so difficult to learn anything, because the car was all over the place, you know, and so variable, and one corner totally different than the next, depending on the wind direction. So that was really, really challenging. But okay, that's the way it is for everybody, and still learned quite a lot, and especially in the end of the day when the wind died down.
I was going to ask, yeah, as temperatures picked up a little bit this afternoon, we're talking about tyre temperatures and how difficult it was with these tyres at the moment. Did that get any better for you?
Yeah, that was another problem that we had, that the whole morning the tyres weren't really working properly. So everything just came together, and it just was really not nice to drive.
In terms of the programme that Mercedes wanted to achieve here, how close to achieving that, or are you ahead of where you wanted to be leaving here?
Today we nailed the program, which is that's really good. You know, no major problems. At one point we thought, ooh, maybe we need to take the gearbox off, but then they were looking at the numbers and they sort of crank it up in the garage and look at the data at the same time to see if there's any disturbances, and everything looked okay. So gearbox stayed on and off I went again, but there was a bit of a hairy moment there.
And just finally, for me, what's your overriding feeling leaving here? Is it confidence in the car? Is it excitement for the season ahead? What's your overriding feeling?
Confident, yes, because we have a great team now, and I mean, we are keeping a close eye on the opposition, because there's been some quite strong times from other teams. So it's not clear cut at the moment, but still I think that we're in a good position.
Nico Hülkenberg got behind the wheel of the Force India for the first time this pre-season, although they're still running their 2014 car. He managed 36 laps before a power unit failure put an early end to his day. Carlos Sainz had been putting the mileage in the Toro Rosso before he went off at turn 3 and ended their running early, and gave an insight into just how difficult conditions were at that part of the circuit.
The important thing is that I'm okay, obviously, as you see, but it was quite a hard accident on turn 3. As you know, today there was very high winds, which didn't make our life for the drivers very easy. Very inconsistent winds, very high winds, and this was for sure not very easy for the drivers. And unfortunately, in turn 3, in one of my long runs, with a hard tire that is obviously not very grippy here, I lost the car in a snap oversteer, and I couldn't correct it, and I went to the wall, damaged the car quite badly. But you know, these things happen. Today was my turn. You've seen many other good drivers and drivers in the past crashing cars, and sometimes happens in testing, and you just have to learn from it.
How was the car up until that point, though? How had your day been?
The day had been, to be honest, the best day of testing up until that point. I felt from the morning compared to day 2 a completely different car. I was a completely different driver with much more feeling on the braking, much better feeling in all type of corners. Even with the high winds we had in the morning, I felt pretty confident with the car, and I managed to push, managed to do some good short runs that was giving me a lot of confidence.
I was going to ask you, how confident are you feeling in the car now then after all this testing?
I think today it has been a really, really important day to build up some confidence. Obviously it's not ideal to finish the day as it was.
The Lotus had twice topped the timesheets in the hands of Pastor Maldonado, and Romain Grosjean was keen to emulate his teammate when he took over. His best enough to set the pace, a 1:24.6 on the soft tyres. But once he put the super softs on, he set the fastest time of testing to date with a 1:24 dead. Danny Kvyat had an early stop at the end of the pit lane in the Red Bull, but after that had a relatively trouble-free day and completed over 100 laps. Williams, meanwhile, had their first stoppage of the test as Valtteri Bottas came to a halt out on track. It was only a brief pause in their programme, and by the end of the day he'd completed 129 laps. Sauber were hoping for better running from the C34 after gearbox issues on day 3, but Felipe Nasr stopped at the very start of the pit lane early on due to what the team called general issues. But it did get out again and completed 73 laps in total.
Yeah, it wasn't the best start of the day, I have to say. We had a few issues in the car which had to be solved. But to compensate that, the afternoon kept me quite busy. From the very beginning of the session in the afternoon until the end, we were able to go through different programs, mainly different tire compounds, and also we got in the long runs as well, which was really important to get the data from it. So all in all, another positive day, doing some improvements in small steps, and I'm sure we have a lot of things to look after over all these days of testing, and carry all the positive for next week.
What's the feeling like in the team? Because you had such a great test in Jerez and then came here the first 2 days all good. Couple of problems now, but you expect that in testing. So is the feeling that these things are things that maybe last year you would have found a lot earlier, because you're getting so many laps in now, you're actually really fine-tuning the car?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing to happen anyway. Like as we're doing more laps, more mileage on engine, gearbox, on the chassis, these things tend to happen. So it's good to fix them now, and to know why these problems they happen, and to solve them. You know, it's much easier to solve them now. Of course, we pay a little bit to not have the car running all the time, but it's good that we have an understanding of this and bring on next week to know maybe to minimize those problems.
What's your feeling like in the car? How are you feeling confident in the car? Are you feeling at home now? Still lots to learn?
I can say I feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more at home than I was in Jerez. With the team, with the car, with the people around, and it's all coming nice together. And still things to do, work to do, and being realistic, we need to fight the right teams. So we know more or less where we are. So I think we got a good knowledge on things we have to do and be able to fight with those people. Yeah.
You've got 2 more days in the car before your first race in Australia. Are you ready?
Yeah, I feel I'm ready. Of course, the more I can do in the car, the more time I have it, the more comfortable I am. Especially with the long runs and strategies, pit stops. This will be very important to be on top of it on next week. So.
And just finally, can I ask you what conditions were like today? A lot of drivers telling us just how windy it was, and it was pretty tricky.
Yes, very tricky, very unpredictable, because it does affect those cars a lot, and which is quite unusual to see many cars running off the track and having some issues out there. But yeah, for sure it made our day a bit more difficult.
So that's it for this second test. The good news for McLaren is that Fernando Alonso is okay and the scans have all come back clear. The bad news is that they have just 4 days left to get this car ready for the 2015 season. Those 4 days begin here in Barcelona on Thursday. We'll be here with a roundup every night for you, and also live updates throughout the day on Sky Sports News HQ.